Hello! Yes, it is me, Jazza, your favourite politically engaged queer on the internet. Before we dived into this here content, I wanted to subtly remind you that as of the date of recording this video, the 3 police officers involved in the killing of Breonna Taylor innocently in her bed during a police raid of her house have still not been brought to justice. All 3 of them, none of them have been charged, and 2 of them still have jobs apparently on the police force where they carried out this horrible killing. I think that is BS, and I would encourage you to make noise about it online and sign the petition that is in the description below. Black Lives Matter, including hers, and I can't quite believe that it's taken 4 months from her killing for anything to happen. Now, if you are a white person on my corner of the internet, I'm pretty sure that you have probably been guilty of virtue signalling how woke you are by peppering into conversation just how aware you are of your privilege. And I don't think it's quite enough for us to know about our privilege. Having privilege is a privilege, and you need to do something with it, rather than just read all of the reading lists that have been going around the internet recently. Part of our privilege as white people is our access to majority white spaces. Spaces that may include people who are not as aware or engaged with the struggle for social justice for black people in the US, but also around the world. And it is our job, if we consider ourselves allies, to use that access to those spaces in order to educate the people around us and the people that we love, including perhaps parents and relatives from a different generation who maybe don't have the same amount of engagement as us. If you're from a majority white community like I grew up in a village that had, I think, 1 person of colour in a population of about 2,000, then it is very possible that your loved ones, that community, are not necessarily going to be as aware or engaged with the issues surrounding the Black Lives Matter movement. You can, as an ally, expose them to that, and you I think you have a responsibility to be their gateway into what is happening. Now, I want to be really clear, I'm not an expert in this. The only expertise I have is being, white, and having a white family with whom I talk to about these topics quite a lot, to the point where I get eye-rolled and kind of like joked about to a certain extent. But I think I'm doing a pretty good job in making sure that they are aware of the issues that are happening in the world, especially with communities that they don't necessarily know an awful lot about. Well done, Jazza. Pat on the back. So with my experience of probably over 15 years of heated discussions around the family dinner table, I would like to share with you some of the things that I have learned about having those conversations with family members and loved ones of mine that may make it easier for you to be able to have those conversations as you talk to your white family and try and bring them along to understanding and supporting the social justice causes around the Black Lives Matter movement that may be quite alien to them. This comes in a wonderful 5-point plan, but I do want to say, before I dive into this, that not everybody is in the privileged position that I am in, that I have a family that I'm able to have these conversations with. And that's something worth bearing in mind. Activism looks different for different people. It can look like a donation, it can look like social media activism, it can look like going out on the streets and marching. But it can also, I think importantly, manifest in having these conversations with people who otherwise wouldn't be having these conversations. First of all, I would encourage you to listen to them first. Frankly, if you're not used to having these conversations around social justice with your family, then you don't necessarily know where they are on the issue. You don't know how much work needs to be done, or maybe you may find out that they are more educated than you are. Let them set out their stall first, calmly, don't interrupt them. Let them say how they are interacting with and interpreting the current events that are happening around us. While you are doing this listening exercise and figuring out what the lay of the land is with your loved ones, I would encourage you at this step, and also throughout all of the other steps of this, to approach this with kindness and assume their best intentions. it may be very possible that they will use out-of-date terminology or even words that are offensive nowadays. They may use the word coloured to talk about people of colour. They may use a term like coffee coloured to talk about people who have mixed race heritage. I have found it most useful to not focus on the semantics of this and to instead focus on their sentiment and encourage them to understand why you wouldn't use those words, why you have chosen not to use those words, and you use different terms. For example, maybe going into a little bit of the history of it, but just really bringing it down to how you ended up deciding on the language that you choose. I would also encourage you to at some point talk to them about the difference between being a racist and doing something racist, and then maybe further along the line talking about structural racism, but that can sometimes be further down the line. They may end up having a very specific image of what a racist person is in their mind, and it will often be a very extreme case like the KKK or the English Defence League or anything along those lines. Very extreme cases, and therefore it's possible for them to be able to divorce themselves from that type of overt racism. Whereas we know that racism takes many, many forms across our society. It can be in actions, it can be in structures, and approaching that calmly and telling them that it's possible that they can do something racist without being one of those overt racists. And maybe even, if you are able to do this, explain how you have done racist things in the past. It is almost inevitable if you are a white person that you have done something racist. And that's okay. We have to admit that and identify that and then make changes so that we don't do that in the future. And having that vulnerability of being not holier than thou, not being like the great messenger from above who is teaching the masses about racism, show how you too have been flawed and how you have made changes. That makes it a lot more accessible to them. Many conversations that you have won't necessarily end badly, but may end in a lack of resolution and a disagreement. They may just completely reject the stories that you tell them, say that they aren't true, etc. And that is okay. This isn't a one and done situation. This is going to be a pet project of yours over a long period of time, probably years. And it doesn't need to be, I want to stress this as well, it doesn't need to be something that you bring up with your family, with your loved ones every single time that you see them. It can be something that you pepper into conversation whenever it's appropriate. And then you can have those conversations, you can challenge it again. And then hopefully ideas will begin to change over time. My fifth and final piece of advice will depend on the people that you are having these conversations with. I have found it best to avoid talking about statistics and to avoid encouraging a reading list or something along those lines. You may very well be having this conversation with people for whom statistics and a good old chunky reading list of books and articles will resonate really, really well, but that isn't always the case. And I find sometimes when you're talking about maybe incarceration statistics or like police interaction statistics or statistics about access to opportunity and things like that, they don't always resonate as well as personal stories. I would always find it better for me to talk about how I've ended up coming to my conclusions and how I've ended up making the decisions I've made about kind of like the actions that I do and how I've changed behaviour and all of that kind of stuff, rather than focusing on, well, have you not read? I'm no longer talking to white people about race. It isn't necessarily accessible. And so focus on those personal stories of how you have gotten to the point that you are. You didn't just arrive at the beliefs that you have fully formed, and neither are they. Maybe the quoting of statistics and a stack of books for them to read is something further down the line that is going to be more plausible to them and more useful for them. But especially at the beginning of these conversations that you're having, I don't find them particularly useful. Like I have said, I am not an expert, and I would really like to know how you are approaching these kinds of topics with people that you care about. Down in the comments below, share some ideas amongst one another. Let's keep it nice and civil. shall we? If you've gotten to this part of the video, I assume that you have found it useful. I would like to encourage you, if you have found it useful, to make a donation to a charity that I've worked with in the past called Africa Rainbow Family, who deal with helping LGBTQ+ refugees who seek asylum in the UK from African and Middle Eastern countries. All of the advertising revenue from this video is going to be going to Africa Rainbow Family. Whoop, whoop. So I'm just going to wait here until you go and just give them a £5. Just give them some of your cash. Wait here for a bit for you to do that. Share this video if it was useful. Okay. Donated? Good. Bye-bye.